Line, a weekly podcast about all things NASCAR and sim racing. Join your hosts Elliot, John, Mike, Matt, and Rick to review this weekend at the track.
Each week they tackle events trackside, news, and of course the rumor mill. Stay up to date each week by subscribing to The High Line. Brought to you by the iRacing Warrior Network.
So without further delay, move up to the High Line.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Highline Podcast. This is episode number 2. It's brought to you by the IWM Racing Network. I'm here in the studio with all of my co-hosts. That's Mr. Michael Carpenter and Mr. Elliot Swope. You've got the three of us tonight, and we'll have a special guest during our segment. We're thankful that you were able to tune in. Again, this is our second episode, and we have been just overwhelmed by the support that we've seen on our platforms. You can now find the Highline Podcast on the Apple Podcast app, as well as Spotify and iHeartRadio, plus all of our social media platforms that are streaming. So that's Facebook and our YouTube channel, as well as Twitch and Twitter. So again, we certainly appreciate your support, and it shows by the number of plays and the times it's been downloaded, and we couldn't be happier. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode of the Highline. So guys, let's talk about what happened this past week. Was our inaugural event with the sim racing that's on the iRacing platform of the Tech4Troops Cup Series Season 3. Our first race of the season was at Las Vegas, and it did not disappoint.
Yeah, Rick, we had 38 entries, and we had 10 cautions. And it was a good race. I'm looking here. We finished with 13 cars on the no. Let me look. Why can't I find that? I thought I would find that really easy, and I'm not. There it is. 22 of the 38 finished on the lead lap. So that's a decent number. Like I said, we did have 10 cautions. It was a little rough in the beginning. That's relatively normal. But towards the halfway point of the race, everybody calmed down, and I think the last segment was probably 70 green flag laps, and it kind of turned the race into a fuel mileage race. We did have a caution late, but it was still the lineup was determined by fuel strategy and pit stops that everybody had made previous to that, and it was a good first race of the season.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that you've got 38. We got 38 entries who came out. 10 separate teams were formed prior to that. Each team can have three cars. Is that correct?
Yeah, 3 members to a team, and we've got a couple teams. Like Average Joe Motorsports is split into 2 separate teams for that award. Southern E Motorsports is actually, I think, split into 3 different teams. And Owl's Nest Racing is split into 2 different teams. And we have 10, I think we have 10 or 11. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it looks like. So, yeah, 10 teams competing for that. We'll keep track of that all season and see how it turns out at the end of the year.
Yeah, so you've got point races and for each individual driver, and then there's cash money for those teams that are competing for the championship. So there's lots of opportunities here to not only get out and have fun and enjoy it, but make a little bit of beer money on the side.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good deal, and we hope to continue it as long as we can.
So I don't want to miss the opportunity. So I'm Rick Souza, and you'll hear my voice repeatedly throughout the episode, as well as Elliot Swope. Elliot's here. You heard that was Elliot talking earlier. And Michael Carpenter, when he joins in, he'll introduce himself. And then we've got a special guest tonight because as far as the race results from our first race, Luke Bullard was the winner. Ty Bostic finished in second, and Mike Slagter finished in third. But we are blessed here in the booth by the man, the myth, the legend, Luke Bullard.
What's going on, fellas?
Welcome to the High Line. We appreciate you joining us tonight, Luke. And hey, congratulations on your win. It's always good to knock one out, especially in a playoff type league like this is. So,
yeah, thanks. It was it was really good to get that first race under your belt and then to come away with a win and go ahead and notch that spot in the playoffs. That makes life easy for the rest of the season.
Well, absolutely, especially since we can't miss the fact that we race for fun. It's not our job, and sometimes real life happens to intervene. So being able to get there, get it done, get the win, and that's great.
Yeah, actually, last season, life, as you said, kind of hindered me there. I didn't make the playoffs. I missed several races for several different things coming about, and just not able to make it. So, yeah, hopefully this season we're going to be able to be there most of the time.
Well, Luke, you won the race, and what I want to ask you is, if I remember right, and you can correct me, you started 37th.
Yeah, that would be correct. There was nobody behind me.
So you start 37th and you end up first. I know it was a 100 and whatever lap race, but how did you do that?
Well, to begin with, before this season ever started, it was highly anticipated. I've been looking forward to it for a while. So we get into the race session, do some practice laps, qualifying comes around, and I'm pumped. I'm like, man, running some fast times in practice, we're fixing to put a good time up. Well, I touched the wall both laps in qualifying, so no qualifying time goes up, and that's how we end up in the back. And I was not happy at all. And actually, Ty and her other teammate Jeff, they were like, man, it's a long race, don't worry about it, you're gonna get up there, blah blah blah. And fortunately it ended up working out, but it was not the start that I anticipated.
Were you involved in any of those early cautions? I'm sorry, Michael, I'll let you have the next one there. We had 3 or 4 early cautions. Were you involved in any of those?
Not one of the very early ones, no. I actually worked my way up to about 8th and kind of got booted going into the corner and got put up in the wall and fell back and yeah, we had some damage we had to get fixed and all. You know what? Actually, Elliot, I think you were right. I did get caught up in either the first or second one. Had to use my fast repair early, if I remember correctly. And then the second wreck, I got put in the wall. That's what happened.
Yeah, we've been watching you guys all through the recruitment season. You and Ty and Jeff were pretty much the class of the field, I felt like, in the recruitment season. I think Ty won a couple races. I think you won a race. With you starting in the back there, how were you able to navigate through there to get with Ty like you always are?
It's funny, we do seem to find each other. It just man, it was a little chaos. I had some help from the wrecks, able to gain just handfuls of positions at a time, people getting slowed up, getting loose, getting involved in wrecks and whatnot, and so those chunks, big chunks in each corner helped a lot, but really once we got about halfway through the field, it was just kind of just trying to take our time and stay out of trouble, and we just worked our way up slowly.
Well, congratulations again on your win. That was just amazing to watch. So,
yeah, you end up winning the race. Ty, your teammate, ends up second, and Michael mentioned Jeff. Jeff ended up 8th. So, in the team championship, it gave you guys a 24-point lead at the beginning. Just a good start to that award for you guys too.
Oh yeah, very good start. We were all happy about that.
Well, listen, Luke, where I should know the answer to this. I'm looking at your iRacing profile as we talk, and it just says Carolina. So which Carolina are you from?
So I am from North Carolina. I live in a small town called Hamlet, which is right beside Rockingham, which most of you might be familiar with Rockingham Motor Speedway, the Rock.
Well, I know where it's at. How far is he from you then, Rick?
An hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe, if that. It's Highway 74 right down the road.
Not too far. Tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would, Luke. Did you grow up there, I guess, and go to school and all that good stuff? Go ahead.
Yeah, born and raised here. Went to school here and all. right now, just living the dad life. I got 3 kids and trying to operate a family-owned business and raise a family and doing some iRacing at night when we get the chance.
That's a good deal, man. How did you get into iRacing?
Well, like most things you're going to hear about iRacing, it was Ty. All Ty's fault. Ty actually, he would send me Snapchats regularly of him on iRacing. And I'm like, man, like growing up, I've always been into racing of any sorts, not just NASCAR. And, play video games and whatnot and have all the NASCAR racing games and Need for Speeds and whatnot. And I'm like, man, he's got a wheel, he's got pedals. Like this looks pretty cool. And I had been seeing some stuff on the TV and the internet, different advertisements. And I was like, man, I got to check this out. So I got over to his house one day and he let me try out his little setup, and I was like, all right, yep, gotta have it.
You were hooked.
Yeah, yep. Hook, line, and
Now there's a family relationship there, correct?
That's right. So I'm married to Ty's first cousin. But to be fair, me and Ty have known each other since we were about 2 years old. Went to school together, played baseball together through high school. So we've had a connection before the marriage situation.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, Hamlet's a small town too, so.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is that how you got involved with Southern E Motorsports? Because I know a bunch of you guys are all connected there from that area.
That's right. So me, Ty, and Zach, we're the 3 of us are from the same town, and I'm not exactly sure how Ty got hooked up with Evan and those guys, but Ty brought me along, so that's how I got there.
Evan's not that far away. He's in Clover, South Carolina, so that's due south of Charlotte, about an hour and a half. So you all are like due east of Charlotte, so about the same amount.
So let's see. You married Ty's first cousin. So what's that make? That makes Ty your uncle or something like that, right? Is that how that works?
Trying to figure out the genealogy here.
Are you sure you don't live in Kentucky?
Or West Virginia.
Yeah.
All right, well,
go ahead, Rick.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask him. You said you had 3 kids. I know your wife's name's Brittany, correct?
That's right. You probably see her on YouTube. She likes to comment on all the feeds. Good.
Where did you all meet? How long you been married?
So we met probably when we were about 5 years old through Ty. Imagine that. Ty's the root of everything around here. And man, we went to school together and high school sweetheart type deal, and we got married back in 2012, and so we're going on. June will be 11 years, and I got 3 kids. I got a daughter who's in the 5th grade. I got a son, he's 5 years old, and I got another son who is 3 years old.
Great. Well, I only have one more question before we move on to the Xfinity and everything and the Cup Series for over the weekend, and that would be, who's your favorite NASCAR driver?
I am a Chase Elliott fan.
Oh my God! So do you eat cardboard for lunch or what? I mean,
yeah, I'm an Elliott fan.
Well, have you been up to the race shop up here in Charlotte?
I have not.
You're missing out.
Yeah, I need to put that on the bucket list.
Yeah, they serve
absolutely.
those cardboard sandwiches there. You can get you one.
Well, yeah.
Really?
All right. So again, you're welcome to hang around as we continue on the podcast as our special guest. We would appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll hang around for sure.
All right.
Yeah, I want to hear what he has to say in our clear, not clear section. So.
Okay. All right. All right, on to our next segment and talk about this week. So NASCAR was at Dover. Mother Nature did not cooperate, made it really hard for them to get that track ready for the Xfinity group on Saturday. And unfortunately, Sunday was a complete washout, and they scheduled the Cup Series to run on Monday. But let's talk about Xfinity for on Saturday. If you had a chance to watch that race, Your pole sitter, Parker Kligerman. It was certainly an emotional win for Ryan Truex. Really, it was an opportunity for him to really put his name out there.
Yeah, it was fun to see Ryan Truex race that well and be that dominant. I mean, he's bounced around, cars to cars and team to team, and not really had a really good ride until now. He gets in a good ride. It's a part-time schedule for him, it looks like, but he finally gets a good ride. He was dominant.
Yeah, I mean, Gibbs came to play. Of course, Gibbs has been dominant in the Xfinity league for series for a while, but I think it's only a 6 or 7 race gig that he's got. But hopefully he can parlay that into something else.
Yeah, I love seeing guys like that, man, who just been around for a while, grinding it out, not really had the best opportunities, and they just love it and just keep getting after it. And then to have something happen like that, man, it's awesome. Hopefully he can get something full time next year. Be good.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be nice to see. Ryan's been one of those guys that just can't seem to bring sponsorship with him no matter where he goes, or he can't keep it when he gets there. And I'd like to see him have a full-time ride somewhere too, but unless that changes for him, I just don't know how that's going to happen.
Well, that's the whole business of NASCAR has changed. I mean, when a driver comes to a team, he's expected to bring, millions of dollars, at least in the Cup Series level, with him along to get him what he wants. If you're just a good driver, and you've got an opportunity to race, but you don't bring any sponsorship with you, that makes it tough.
It's one of the things that I don't want to use the word hate. It's one of the things I really, really dislike about the model right now. The business, yeah. Well, I mean,
the TV deal is certainly crimping that for sure.
But
that's definitely a. Oh, I'm sorry, Elliot.
No, go ahead, Michael.
That's definitely a long-winded argument for another day. But that's the biggest opportunity that NASCAR has right now as a sport is this TV deal to try to relieve some of that pressure, because it's a shame that you got some of these guys out there that just don't get the opportunity because they don't bring money. I mean, there's a lot of talented guys out there that would make the sport better. They just don't bring that big dollar with them.
Well, the companies the sponsorship deals were with the teams, all the way up until sometime in the 2000s, I think. I mean, if you go back to the 80s, which I know for some people seems ancient, but still, before Earnhardt was in the Goodwrench car, he was in the Wrangler car, and it was an RCR car. And before Earnhardt was in it, Ricky Rudd was in it. So the sponsorship of Wrangler was with RCR. It wasn't with Ricky Rudd, or it wasn't with Dale Earnhardt. It was with RCR. And it's just not done that way anymore.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has changed. I think it hasn't really been an old thing. I think it's only been in the last 6 or 7 years that we've seen that sponsorship follow the driver. Because if you're a, and I'll just because they're not a sponsor right now, but if you're a Lowe's and you're a guy that you've invested marketing and media and appearances and time, whether both national or international ads with, you want to hang on to that driver. And so they began to cut those side deals with the individual drivers.
I get that from Lowe's standpoint, but Ryan Truex had a deal with Colleague Racing in 2018 or 2019 to drive full time in their Xfinity car. I don't remember the number, but he lost that because Justin Haley came in and had the sponsorship dollars, and so that was one of the rides that Ryan lost.
Well, the good news. Go ahead.
I was just saying I could see both sides of the coin here, but the unfortunate part is, regardless of whichever way you look at it, that the bad part is there are some really good drivers that just slip through the cracks and never get the opportunity they deserve, that are potentially better than probably a lot of guys that are on the track now, because of what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you just look right now at Josh Berry. I mean, all this time that Josh Berry has been buried in the late model series and things like that. He had never met Dale Jr. on iRacing. We wouldn't even know who Josh Berry was.
Right.
Very true. And there's a handful of drivers at the Craftsman truck level and within the Xfinity series that they could compete week in and week out at the Cup level, but they don't have the sponsorship.
Well, we could probably talk about this for 846 years, but
For sure.
That Xfinity race, Cole Custard won his second straight Dash for Cash, which is nice for him, I'm sure. But to me, he's been a disappointment so far this season.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. I was really looking for a lot more out of him, but haven't really seen it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you too. I was expecting him to kind of have a resurgence of his career, so to speak, and going back down to the Xfinity series, but it just has not panned out at all.
Yeah, I thought dropping from the Cup Series, dropping down, he would just be a force to reckon with, and he's been up front a lot, or some. I don't even know how to phrase that, to be honest with you. But no, he's not ruling the Xfinity series like I thought he would.
Well, on to the Cup Series. We all lined up at, I guess they tried to move it from 3 o'clock to 1 o'clock Sunday. That didn't work out. And then it was broadcast. That race kicked off on Monday at noon on a very green racetrack.
Yeah, the race started, wasn't it? Kyle Busch started off real hot. Ran out front for a while.
Retired with a broken valve spray.
John's favorite piece of bread, William Byron. He ran out front a lot. Kind of lost his dominance there towards the end, but I don't know. The racetrack was green and slick when they started.
Well, I like the fact that they were able to lay down some rubber and the tires actually wore, and you could see the time the fall offs happen, and there was actually some tire wear.
Yeah, we've been needing that for a long time with the tire wear. I mean, I'm sure the green racetrack had a lot to do with it, but I think the tire that they brought, even if there would have been rubber on the track from the Xfinity race, once they laid it down, they still had tire fall off, which was good to see.
Speaking of tire wear, wasn't it Logano that just kept tearing them up? I mean,
oh yeah.
Whoever set his camber or whatever probably ought to be fired.
That was the worst race I think I've ever seen Logano run. That was awful.
Yeah, he just kept blowing as a right rear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had Suarez spinning on lap 34. He took out Dillon, BJ McLeod, Kyle Busch got caught up in that, and definitely we saw some attrition with a number of incidents on track. Of course, we'll talk later about Ross Chastain's bumping into Brendan Poole, and then obviously that collects Kyle Larson.
Well, speaking of Ross real quick and the Suarez spin, and you guys can hate on Ross here in just a few minutes, but Ross was going 3 wide on almost every restart, getting a couple spots. And if you go back and watch that Suarez spin, that was Suarez running out of talent, trying to do the same thing that Ross was doing.
You're not going to get anybody disagreeing with that.
He's trying to follow Ross, and he figures out at the last second that he can't do it.
The interviews following Ross Chastain's bumping of Brennan Poole were hilarious. Yeah,
that was those interviews are getting a little old, to be honest with you.
Well, it's a constant between the chatter on the radio post incident and then the post race stuff. I mean,
Elliot and I talked about it. Like, I don't have a problem with Ross racing rough or aggressive. It's good for the sport to have somebody out there like that. But just stop saying I'm sorry. Get out of the race car and say he was in my way. I don't know what you want me to do.
Yeah, I think I heard somebody, and I don't know, Elliot, for some reason I feel like this might have been you at one point or another, but somebody I heard say that, Ross Chastain is the Dale Earnhardt of today's era. He drives like Dale Earnhardt used to, but nobody perceives it the same way.
Yeah, I was going to wait until we got to our clear not clear section, but since we're talking about Ross, he's exactly, and this will make some people's heads explode, but he drives exactly the way Dale did when Dale was early in his career. If anybody remembers, before Dale was the Intimidator, he was called Ironhead. And so, if we want to call Ross Melonhead or whatever, that's fine. But the only difference is exactly what Michael said. He does stuff that other people isn't doing, and he puts his car where other people won't put it. And until they have a certain level of respect for him, or until he figures out what he can and can't do, he's going to wreck people, and he's going to wreck himself. It was the exact same way Dale drove really his entire career. But
then he's got a leg up on Dale, because Ross doesn't wreck himself. I mean, if you listen to Denny Hamlin's podcast, they talked about it. But every single one of these incidents that Ross is in, he goes through them unscathed. It is unbelievable how he can just
he finished
kill
third,
people.
Right? He finished third.
He kills people every week, and he survives it. But he is never caught up in his own stuff.
But the biggest difference in the comparison that I'm making to Earnhardt is when he gets out of the car and he does this and he does that. I'm so sorry, and I just need to do this. And
that was not Dale.
Dale would find some piffy way to say, I don't care, or whatever. I don't know what you're talking about.
He would smirk and give you a little wink and.
Yeah, I mean, if Ross could just, in my opinion, if he could just change his personality that way, he'd get a lot more out of it than what he's doing now.
It would be better for the sport too. It would create better rivalries, because right now all he's doing, everybody's just, and I'm tired of listening to everybody be mad at him. If you're just going to let it happen and not do anything back, then just shut up about it. Just take it.
Well, he finished second in this week's race.
Yeah, I was amazed at Ryan Truex's two tires at the very end. Just basically, he was running faster than Ross was, to be honest with you. But they were running, either he was faster the last 5 laps off and on, or they were running the same speed, and Ross on 4 tires just couldn't make up any ground.
Yeah, do y'all know what tire situation Blaney was on right there on the last restart?
Yeah, Blaney was on 2 tires as well.
Tires. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I said Ryan, I meant to say Martin. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Hey, another good finish for Blaney. He seems to be doing better.
He's a great bridesmaid, isn't he, Michael?
Yeah, he really is, and it's really getting old.
If you look at his last 3 races, Martinsville started 31st, finishes 7th. Talladega starts 5th, finishes 2nd, and then started 3rd, finished 3rd. All right.
Yeah, Martin's just really lucky that Ryan Blaney doesn't have any Chastain in him, because he would have killed him if he did.
I agree, but I think he needs a little Chastain in him. I mean,
yeah, I would agree with that. I'm a Blaney fan, second to Elliott, but he definitely could use a little Chastain in him.
Also, we haven't talked about Ty Gibbs yet. He had another. Well, this was going to be probably his best showing of the season, but pit strategy or a mess up with getting the fuel in the car kind of ruined his. He was probably going to at least have a top 10.
Yeah, that was awful to see. I mean, I'm not a Ty Gibbs fan by any stretch, but that was by far his best run in a Cup car. He was up front all day.
Yep.
Made great moves, and then they just don't get enough fuel in the car. I mean, that is so disheartening.
Well, but he also worked his way back up, because early on he fell back to 20th, 22nd, kind of worked his way back up through whether that was incidents or pit stops, and wound up inside the top 10, top 5 for a while there, until a fueling issue on pit road, whether you have fuel in the car or what. But having to try and be told on the radio you got to find 7 laps, that's pretty hard.
Yeah, that's impossible. And to me, that shows the kind of talent that he has, because that Dover is not an easy racetrack, a green racetrack. I mean, he really showed himself Monday. I thought that was a good showing.
I don't know if it's just me or what with Ty Gibbs, and I'm not a Gibbs fan, but I'm not pulling against him either, but it seems like he's just had a really quiet but solid rookie year. Nothing just outstanding, but he's had a solid season so far.
Oh, I completely agree. In fact, if you think about what happened at Talladega, I mean, had they not had as many green, white checkers or extra laps added on, he would not have run out of fuel.
No, and you're right, Luke. He's had a really good, quiet season, which surprises me a little bit. I'm glad to see it. But the competition for him is Noah, and he's not having a terrible year, but he's having a regular rookie year where he's making mistakes, and of course he's running in inferior equipment compared to Ty. But Noah's, Ty's going to be rookie of the year, and Noah could be doing better than he is because he's got Eric running in the same stuff and finishing better than him.
Yeah, that's a good point. I had a little bit of worry with Ty. Moving up into the Cup Series, I was like, man, this kid's going to come up here and try and run things the same way he did in the Xfinity Series, and he's going to have a rough go. And he's, like I said, the quiet part is what's really surprised me the most. It's been really quiet but solid.
Well, I'm going to make one summation, and I have no idea, but obviously he had a tragedy happen at the end of last season, and sometimes when things like that happen, it can change you.
Yes, very good point.
So next week, the Cup Series moves on, along with the Craftsman Truck Series, to Kansas Speedway. And the Xfinity guys have the weekend off. That should make things good for them to kind of regroup, especially those teams that were involved in a lot of cautions. All right, on to our next segment, and that is Clear, Not Clear. So that's where we get a chance to talk about an incident that may or something that's happening in NASCAR and really get the opinion of our hosts and our guests to just, clear means you're good with that, not clear, not so much. And so the first thing that comes up, which is probably on everybody's mind, was after the wreck by Chastain sends Brendan Poole spinning up the track and taking out Larson. Should NASCAR step in?
Well, I'll take that one first because I'm probably going to be the only one that says it this way, but I'm clear. Him getting into Brendan Poole, which I think he was driving the 15 for Rick Ware Racing. It's the exact same incident that happened at Richmond between Denny Hamlin and JJ Yaley in the 15 for Rick Ware Racing. He wasn't trying to get into him, and he wasn't being overly aggressive, in my opinion. He just didn't know Brendan was going to have to back up that much getting in the corner. Same thing that happened between Denny and JJ. So I'm clear on that. Sorry it took out Larson, but that's racing, and no, a fine would be stupid.
Yeah, I'm not clear on the fine. I don't think we need to be fining for that. They just need to handle it themselves. I totally disagree with you about the whole incident itself. It is exactly like the Denny Hamlin at Richmond. But Denny even said it. He ran out of talent. Ross ran out of talent too. They're at lap 80. That is way too aggressive. There's too much racetrack. You're clearly the faster car. You just don't run through people like that. That was stupid.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you on that one there, Michael. Not clear for sure on the fine. There's no need for the fine. I've been back and forth on Chastain and all his incidents. Some of them I want to defend them. Some of them I'm just like, man, this isn't acceptable. And with this one, I'm going to have to say was not acceptable. And I'm going to stand on that by the main point being the time of race. That early in the race, he's got a good car. He's fast. He can get around those guys. He need to be a little more patient, in my opinion.
I think that's the same way I feel as well. I am not clear with Chastain's over-aggressive early approach, and then I don't believe that any intervention from the governing body should step in and fine. However, it wouldn't be a bad thing to have them, at least whether it's publicly or privately, have a sit down with Chastain and say, look, you just can't do that.
Yeah, I want to add one thing to the Chastain thing here before we get off this topic. I run across an interview that kind of explained a little bit of where he kind of got his racing mentality and all from, and kind of how he was brought up, and it really changed my outlook on him. And to begin with, I was kind of on the bandwagon of, this guy's crazy, man. He's just wrecking everybody. He's just a hazard. And then once I got involved with that and listening and all, I was like, man, I kind of got to understand it from this cat. Like, he's had to race his whole career. Like, this is potentially his last, and he's going to take every opportunity to get every position and every dollar he can. And it kind of put it in perspective for me, and that's why I said I go back and forth defending him sometimes, and sometimes I'm like, man, this is just not acceptable. But I just wanted to add that piece in there too, that I'm not going to bash Chastain. I have some respect for where he's at in his career, but I do disagree with this one.
Yeah, I just want to say you guys are all wrong. Bullshit, get out of the way. Go ahead.
NASCAR is currently exploring a streamer service for some broadcast options, like the NFL did with Prime for Thursday Night Football.
That's easy. Not clear. I have Amazon Prime, and I didn't watch most of those Thursday night games because it's just not on my TV guide, if you know what I mean. I live around Cincinnati. Cincinnati Reds were on FS1 Cincinnati. I'm sure FS1 had Cleveland, had Cincinnati, maybe had one in every market. They sold those rights 2 or 3 years ago. For Cincinnati, they sold them to Bally Sports, maybe to all of them, I don't know, but for Cincinnati, it was Bally Sports, and that's its own streaming service. And because I have to get off of, where I watch television to go to Bally Sports, and I have to log in every damn time, and I don't know the schedule unless I look it up online, I miss so many more Reds games than I ever used to. So no, I wouldn't want NASCAR going to, a Paramount Plus or an Amazon Prime or a Peacock or whatever. That's not clear.
Yeah, I'm not clear on that as well. I realize that's the way we're going, and there's nothing we're going to be able to do about it. Everything is moving in that direction, but it is a pain. I deal with the same thing you're talking about with the Reds, with the Braves. I'm right in between. With YouTube TV, I get the Reds all the time. But I'm right in between the Cincinnati market and the Atlanta market, and I don't get the Braves, and I have to do the Bally Sports thing to be able to watch them. It's frustrating. So NASCAR's kind of in a pickle with this because you're struggling for viewership as it is, and now you're going to make it harder on the casual fan to find you. And I don't think that's a good idea on their part.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you guys. Not clear. You've mentioned the very reasons why I'm not clear on this one either, man. I'm I'm an Atlanta Braves fan, and I have not watched a single game this year, and for that reason, I'm not doing the Bally Sports thing and having to log into that. And normally you can just flip the TV on, and it's like, yep, Braves are on FS1 tonight. Oh, nope, not anymore, and that's tough.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing to talk about. I don't think it benefits the casual NASCAR fan because you have to go out of your way to find that, to log in. You have to be intentional to catch that broadcast. Whereas if it's on prime time on a Sunday, you may be flipping through the channels. That casual fan who may have a slight interest, he may stop and stay, and you may gain a fan. But if you've got to turn in and tune into a different broadcast means or method to watch a race, I think that's just a loser. And more importantly, I think it's more for leverage as they're talking about these contracts with TV. I'm not really sure whether this was actual or something that they just floated to try and put something in the owner's craw as they try to negotiate these TV deals. So not clear.
Yeah, and I just want to say the reason for me personally, and this is first world problems, I guess, but I mentioned that I don't watch, or I missed a lot of the Thursday night games because it's on Amazon Prime, or it was last year, is because I flip channels. And when I go to Amazon Prime and I'm watching the football game, I can't flip channels anymore.
No, you're stuck. That's it.
So I just don't watch it.
Right. All right, next topic. Alex Bowman out with broken vertebrae. Does NASCAR need to step in? Do team contracts need to change?
This is a really tough one for me. Do I think NASCAR needs to step in? No, so not clear on that. But, the teams used to not let their drivers do this kind of stuff. And Kyle Larson's kind of brought this to prominence, but the difference between him and Alex Bowman, and I'm not trying to crap on Alex all that much, but Kyle's good at all that dirt stuff, and I'm not saying Alex isn't, but he's not Kyle. And he was in a sprint car. It was a wing sprint car? Is that correct? It was a 410 sprint. A guy here locally just got killed in a non-wing sprint. They're about as dangerous as they get, and so it's up to the teams. But if Hendrick came out tomorrow and said no more of this, I'd be fine with that. So I'd be clear on that.
It's not only racing; it's also skiing and other potential sports that could break your leg or cause an injury.
I don't know how far that stuff goes, because I know in lots of other sports, you're not allowed to ride a motorcycle. You're not allowed to jump out of a plane. I don't know where skiing falls in line with that. But
well, if I'm your sponsor and I'm Napa and I've invested a crap ton of money in you, that you're going to show up at appearances and be there and drive on Sunday, and all of a sudden you're not, then I'm wondering what I bought.
Yeah, I see both sides of it. I'm not clear for NASCAR stepping in. I don't think they need to do that. I think that needs to be left up to the teams as far as what they want to do. I just don't know how far you take it. I mean, on one hand, these guys racing locally like this, it's helping auto racing and motorsports in general. It's bringing out you're gaining fans that way, I think. But from the financial side of it, it is suicide. I mean, we're not talking about, $100,000 or something. These companies have millions of dollars, in these guys. And going out and racing is one thing. Now, I don't know. I'm torn on the skiing. And where do you draw the line, though? It's like Denny Hamlin said, he's torn both ACLs playing basketball. I mean, so what are they supposed to do? Nothing. It's just, where do you put the line?
Michael, you make it hard for me to follow you. You take my points. But, I'm not clear with NASCAR stepping in by any means. However, I think it can almost be used from a team contract standpoint, almost as leverage. You take a guy like Chase Elliott, okay, broke his leg skiing. If the burnout factor in the lives they live, it's serious, man. Like, you take any professional athlete, and when day in, day out, this game or this race or whatever this sport is for them that was so fun for so long is now a job, and it gets so serious, it's got to be mentally taxing on them, and to take away their outlets, it affects them as a human being, much less, an athlete. And, can the teams with their contracts negotiate this type of stuff? Say, hey, maybe a smaller team can say, hey, look, we're not going to hold you back. If you want to go skiing, go skiing. We want you to drive for us. Whereas a Hendricks will be like, yep, you're not doing any extracurricular activities outside of my car. You know what I mean? Like, if they start taking this and running with it however they want, it could help some of these smaller teams too.
I think it's really hard because there's nearly no off season, so there's not a real opportunity for these guys to do anything else. And the season ends, and they're already prepping for the season to pick back up 60 days later.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it's a 36-week schedule, but they've got off weeks. They've got the All-Star race. They've got the Clash. They've got, it is a grind. I just don't know how you tell these guys they can't do anything. Like I said, I just don't know where the line is.
All right. So unlike Kyle Busch, Gibbs sent a clear message to the Truex camp. We want him to stay with us as long as we can convince him to do that. Thoughts?
Well, I know what the difference is. What is it? Pro Bass Shops? Is it Johnny Walker? Is that who owns that outfit?
Johnny Morris.
Johnny Morris. That's close. What's Johnny Walker?
I know what you're thinking, Johnny Walker.
M&M's, Mars bars, whatever that was for Kyle Busch, they had been in the sport for 20 or 25 years, and anything they were ever going to get out of it as far as a customer seeing their product and buying a new candy bar, they had gotten out of it, and it was just time for them to go. And Martin still has, Johnny Walker. He still has, Pro Bass Shops, and they want to be with him. So, of course, Gibbs is going to say that.
Yeah. Well, and he won. So, he's in the playoffs, and that's going to carry his sponsor into the next round.
Yeah, I'm clear on it. Joe Gibbs is crazy if he doesn't hang on to Martin Truex as long as Martin wants to sit in that car.
I think that's the thing.
These
right
sponsorships are so hard to come by, and it is very obvious that Johnny Morris is loyal to Martin Truex. They have a great relationship. They were at Furniture Row with Martin. It is just, and Martin has still got it. It's not like he doesn't still have it. And those other two guys don't bring the money that Martin does. And we talked about it earlier. Drivers bringing money is everything.
Yeah, I'm clear on this one as well, and I think Martin Truex, his character as a person and a driver, it just kind of goes along with the Joe Gibbs atmosphere. He's class act guy, and just like Joe Gibbs, and I of course anybody would want the talent that Kyle Busch has got, but he also brings some pretty heavy saddlebags with his attitude and just the way he carries himself, and that's just who he is. Not faulting him for it. Like that's he's that villain. He's that guy.
Kyle has baggage.
He don't have any baggage this year yet.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
I'll tell you what, Richard Childress might have put the fear in him.
Well, whatever he did, he needs to keep doing it because he's had great success so far.
I was about to say,
I suspect what he told him was come over here and act however you want to act. Just win races.
Yeah.
I could believe that too.
Yeah. All right. So discuss the recent announcement we just heard today that the Legacy Club is now switching from Chevy to Toyota for next season.
I'm clear. I know Legacy is what? It's Richard Petty, Jimmy Johnson, and somebody else, right? Somebody else, right?
The GMS
three of
group
them?
that was there before.
The GMS group, yeah. My father was a Petty fan, so I grew up being a Petty fan. And, Richard, he drove a lot of Dodges and stuff like that, but he also drove Pontiacs, he drove Fords. So I could care less. I don't care if they're driving a spaceship. If Toyota gives them better equipment than the secondhand stuff they're getting, being a second-rate Chevy team, I'm all for it.
Yeah, they're going to get better equipment because they're going to be the third team at Toyota, where they're probably the fifth team at Chevrolet. They're not getting the attention and the money and the resources that the other guys are getting. More than anything, it's shocking to see Jimmy go from a lifetime Chevrolet driver to Toyota. But I mean, it's a business decision, and it's going to help that organization a lot. So
you've got Maury Gallagher and Jimmy Johnson are the owners of the Legacy Group.
Right. Richard's just a figurehead.
Yeah, he has an honorarium type role. So, but then again, also what? It was Eric Jones and Noah Gregson. They were both with Toyota prior to moving over. Is that what I recall?
Well,
I don't remember Noah being with Toyota. I know Eric Jones was. He was one of their development drivers for a long time, way before he got in the the 20 car.
What do you think? Switching from Chevy to Toyota.
Yeah, I'm gonna be clear on this one for sure, man. I think it's a no-brainer if they're gonna get better equipment and I'm not necessarily a Gregson fan, but the respect for Jimmy Johnson and the petty GMS, all that, man. Like, you don't want to see anybody like that, fail. And I'm not saying they're failing right now, but I think they could do better with the drivers they got if they maybe had better equipment. So from a business standpoint, hey, if Toyota's going to give me better stuff, hey, I'll go with Toyota. I can leave the bow tie, and I'm a Chevy guy.
Yeah, and you said they're failing, or maybe that's the wrong word. They're not any better than they were last year. There's been no change, in my opinion, switching from petty GMS, Jimmy Johnson coming in. We changed the name of the team. I hope it changes, and I think, when the news tried to act like Richard was upset because he didn't have as much say anymore. I don't think he was upset. I think he's just happy to still be breathing, to tell you the truth. I think this is Jimmy just trying to take the team forward.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rick.
Well, I'll just say that Gregson was not in a Cup or Xfinity Toyota, but he was with Kyle Busch Motorsports in the Truck Series as a Toyota driver.
Okay, so he would have been a Toyota driver.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that wraps up our clear or not clear segment of our broadcast. Time to kind of maybe put a bow tie on this show today and put a bow on it. And we want to thank Luke Bullard for joining us here this week on the Highline. We appreciate you joining us tonight. Certainly looking forward to seeing you out there, because Tech4Troops tonight heads to Daytona International Speedway.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me. I've enjoyed my time on the podcast, and looking forward to racing at Daytona. Hopefully we can continue the trend from the first race and carry on. But you know how hectic it gets, so we'll see.
We're looking forward to seeing you guys some more. Like I said earlier, in the recruitment races, you guys did really well. You and Ty both. I was very impressed with both of you guys. So next time you get your win, I'll let you go first on clear or not clear.
I appreciate that.
Tell Ty no more potty gate.
Yeah, tonight at 8:30 Eastern Time, Daytona, 120 laps. Luke, if you win again, maybe we'll have you back again next week.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
So if you're catching this podcast, if you could tune in to it's our YouTube channel. It's www.youtube.com/IWM Broadcast Network. You'll also find us if you look for us on Twitch and Twitter and Facebook. Feel free to tune in there. And also, as we talked about the race here today, feel free to go back to our YouTube channel and pull up and take a look at Luke Bullard's win last week, and stay with us. Like and follow on those channels. So, all right, I guess that's it. That's a wrap, guys. I want to thank y'all for coming out today and having a chance to talk.
Enjoyed it, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to everybody that listened, and everybody have a good night.
All right. Good night, folks.